We're looking for star upside in later rounds at running back. Next on Fantasy Football Today in 5. Hey, welcome to FFT in 5. It's the Tuesday, August 2nd edition, and I'm asking Jamie Eisenberg for his 3 favorite late round running back targets for the 2022 season. But I'm going to start with my own pick based on a little bit of training camp scuttlebutt that we've seen over the last couple of days, and that is rookie running back for the Chargers, Isaiah Spiller. According to the NFL Network's Taylor Biscotti, Spiller is the only Chargers running back besides Austin Eckler getting first-team reps at running back. That's pretty huge. We've seen this offense sustain multiple fantasy viable running backs alongside Austin Eckler. I mean, you have to go back a little bit to Melvin Gordon, but last season Justin Jackson started one game without Austin Eckler, had 11 carries, 9 targets. We've seen Justin Jackson put up big numbers when Austin Eckler's missed time. So if Isaiah Spiller, 4th-round pick for the Chargers, can be that 1B or even number 2, but with the upside to be, I think, a borderline top 12 running back if Austin Eckler has to miss time. He's someone I want on my teams in basically every draft. If I can get him inside of the top 100, I'm thrilled. Or outside of the top 100, I'm thrilled, and I'm willing to take him inside of the top 100. Jamie, who's going to be this year's Elijah Mitchell or Darrell Williams, that late round guy who comes relatively out of nowhere and makes a big impact for fantasy? Give me 3 of them.
Yeah, Isaiah Spiller is a great call. 3 that I look for late in every draft. Kenneth Gainwell is the first one. I'm looking at Fantasy Pros ADP, so guys that are going basically after pick 130 overall. I don't know if that'll be the case once we get to all of our redraft leagues, but Gainwell is certainly somebody that I plan to target a lot. As we've seen, Miles Sanders has missed at least 4 games each of the last 2 seasons. Gainwell is going to get an opportunity with Sanders healthy in a passing game that should improve with Jalen Hurts and the weapons that they have there, and I think a more aggressive plan. So I do like Kenneth Gainwell as some standalone value, but obviously has some lottery ticket appeal as well. Tyler Algiere, you've already got one report that he could be the lead running back in Atlanta, and we saw Cordarrelle Patterson struggle down the stretch. No surprise for a guy that's been in the league as long as he has, approaching 30, and clearly not necessarily what we think of as a, lead featured workhorse type of running back. And I'm sure Arthur Smith would like to have at least some of a plan B, if not maybe a plan 1A. And Tyler Algiere is a physical running back, not necessarily a Derrick Henry type, but a guy that runs that with that style, just a straightforward, put your nose down, get what's given to you, and if you have the opportunity to pop one. I don't know if Algiere has the upside of Derrick Henry in terms of top end speed, those type of things, but he certainly has the upside to find the end zone. And if this offense does improve, then maybe Tyler Algiere can end up being a weekly starter. And then the third one is just looking at what's been the case in San Francisco for the last 5 years, all 5 years of Kyle Shanahan being there. It's been a different lead rusher every time. You mentioned Elijah Mitchell. He was a third-string running back to open the season last year. In some cases, could have been fourth-string depending on the health of Jeff Wilson, but he was behind, at least we thought, not only Raheem Mostert, but also Trey Sermon. Well, we got to week 1 last year. Trey Sermon wasn't active. Raheem Mostert went down. The rest is history for Elijah Mitchell. Had a great rookie season. So Tyrion Davis-Price, the 3rd-round pick this year. We'll see how he works. We'll see what kind of opportunity he gets. You're already hearing that he's going to get maybe some short yardage and goal line opportunities. And if something happens to Elijah Mitchell, who missed 6 games as a rookie, maybe Tyrion Davis-Price is the next man up. So 3 guys with some upside that I look for, and hopefully at least one of them will hit in 2022.
Yeah, Kyle Shanahan, I think, can be fairly described as mercurial, especially when it comes to young players. I mean, we saw with Trey Sermon and Brandon Ayuk last year, just kind of fell out of his favor at the beginning of the season based on how their training camps went. So, yeah, I think, that's the kind of turnover year over year that San Francisco, especially they've finished top 5 in running back fantasy points 2 of the past 3 seasons. Last year being the outlier, I think, for obvious reasons. Deebo Samuel was such a big part of that running game in the second half that they actually only finished 19th in PPR points for running backs. But yeah, that's a good call. What do you tend to look for with your late round running backs? Are you looking for the right offense? Are you trying to find an overlooked talent in particular, or is it more about situation?
I think it's all 3. It kind of comes down to, I think, first off, what your roster build is. So in the case of Gainwell, who I do think is going to be, somebody that sees his ADP rise significantly. I think, you'll see the type of player that he is. He can help you right now. The other 2 guys, in terms of Algiere and Davis-Price, Algiere probably is going to get some buzz if he continues to get first team work. So, his ADP may rise also. But, Davis-Price, another guy that I was looking at, Brian Robinson, these type of guys that they're an injury away from being, in a featured role. But I think we could also get some production out of them early on in the season. So for the most part, though, you're looking for, if you have a strong running back core, what can help you as a lottery ticket. Otherwise, if you need to sort of backfill the position, if you go wide receiver heavy in your draft, might be somebody more like Gainwell who's going to have a role early in the season, doesn't need an injury to be successful.
And one thing I like about the Gainwell pick is he might not necessarily need an injury just because Miles Sanders is a free agent at the end of this season. The Eagles have no reason to necessarily keep him around long term if they don't like him. So if things go wrong for him, Kenneth Gainwell is the kind of guy who could just usurp Miles Sanders as the lead running back in Philadelphia. So that's another great call. He's someone I want on a lot of my teams. And that's going to do it for Fantasy Football Today in 5. We'll be back on Wednesday with more running back week preview.